The Plain of Jars is a megalithic archaeological landscape scattered with thousands of stone jars in the Xieng Khouang plateau of northern Laos. Dating back 2,500 years or more, the mammoth jars and the hundreds of burial sites in the area suggest the Plain of Jars may have been an extensive burial complex in Iron Age Southeast Asia. But much about the jars and the people who made them remains a mystery. In the absence of detailed historical records, myths and legends have emerged among the local peoples to explain the origins of the stone jars. The stories draw on aspects of the jars and the sites where they are found. The gigantic size of the jars, the remote and rugged terrain, the holes and carved marks in some lids to spin fantastical tales of demons, gods, warriors, and magical rituals and events. While these myths may or may not contain grains of truth about the jars and their creators, they provide intriguing glimpses into how Laotian cultures have made sense of these artifacts over generations. The legends highlight the long-standing importance of the sites to peoples in the Xieng Khouang region and the hold they have had on local imaginations. Here are some of the most vivid and compelling myths and legends told by the peoples living around the Plain of Jars about these enigmatic stone vessels and their obscure origins. The jars as funerary urns for giant warriors. Many stories interpret the stone jars, some estimated to weigh over 10 tons apiece, as funerary urns for the remains of giant warriors who fought titanic battles long ago. In one Hmong legend, the jars contain the ashes of thousands of formidable soldiers and chieftains slain in great ancient battles between warring giants, when men were bigger and stronger than mountains. Defeated warriors from a valley to the north were cremated and their allies honored them by placing their ashes in huge stone urns arranged across the plains. Another tale spins an alternative history of the Trojan War. After the infamous war ended, a victorious Laotian king sailed home with 7 vanquished Trojan princes as slaves. When one prince died at sea, the Laotians cremated him according to custom and stored his remains in a giant stone funerary jar. Upon arriving home, the king ordered 6 more jars made to hold the prince's remains after their deaths. Other stories claim the jars belong to Moi, a race of legendary giants who once ruled the Xieng Khouang plateau and figure prominently in regional folklore. By one account, Moi warriors who died in battle were burned on funeral pyres, their ashes collected in ceramic jars made by the Moi, and later transferred for safekeeping to the gigantic stone urns placed across the plains. Jars as magical vessels from the heavens. Rather than funerary urns, other local myths present the jars as magical vessels used by the Moi for bathing or rice wine making. These legends trace the jars back to divine or celestial origins. By some accounts, the hundreds of carved discs and lids found near jar sites fell from the heavens. After a storm, people discovered curiosities like the carved stone plates lighting up the ground. Only later were the gigantic jars uncovered, shedding light on the mysterious discs' function as seals for the colossal vessels. Another myth claims the jars plummeted directly from the skies during a thunderstorm. Massive vessels slammed thunderously into the earth, plowing huge furrows into the land. Each jar bore magical inscriptions giving it the power to catch rainwater or produce rice wine for consumption by Moi giants. Fearing the seemingly divine jars, the Moi subsequently crafted lids to seal their powers from unwitting humans. Yet another story tells that the jars were molded from supernatural earth by the 1,000 hands of grandmother Xieng Khouang, an earth goddess and progenitor of the Moi giants. As grandmother Xieng Khouang danced joyously over the Xieng Khouang plateau, her myriad hands pressed the celestial soil into jars for her giant children to use. The jars as magical portals into the underworld. Some believe the stone urns contain not ashes or wine, but magical gateways leading underneath the earth. These portals allegedly provided access to a legendary subterranean kingdom once home to the Moi giants. By one account, grandmother Xieng Khouang created the jars so her Moi children could traverse freely between the mortal world and their home beneath the plateau. Others suggest the Moi crafted the portals to defend against enemies by moving underground, or to communicate with deceased ancestors to preserve their wisdom. On certain spiritually auspicious days, jars may open doorways, inviting communion with netherworld inhabitants or enabling passage to hidden underground treasures and of ancient Moi knowledge. On inauspicious days, they open onto demonic realms, unleashing vengeful spirits. Only priests or shamans dare approach on these latter days, leaving offerings to placate whatever ministers within. Jars as remnants of a lost civilization. A final category of myths presents the plane of jars as the relics of an advanced predecessor civilization destroyed by cosmic cataclysm. These lost race myths have fueled both mystical and pseudo-archaeological speculations. By one account, the Xieng Khouang plateau was once a fertile valley, where members of a mysterious megalithic civilization thrived until they were annihilated in a terrible flood. All that survived were remnants, like the enigmatic jars and discs marking their vanished realm. Others tie the jars to the lost continent of Mu or Lemuria, believed to have sunk beneath the waves and told eons ago. Allegedly, the Moi are descendants of Lemurian refugees who settled on surrounding lands, including the Xieng Khouang plateau, before their own realm perished through wars, earthquakes, or celestial disaster. The jars supposedly date back to these little-known forebears. Pseudo-archaeologists attribute the plane of jars to even more incredible lost precursors. Eric von Däniken of Ancient Astronauts fame argues the jars and lids resemble modern-day spacecraft launch pads and fuel caps, conjecturing they were built by extraterrestrial visitors mistaken for gods. Others propose vanished Atlanteans crafted them using anti-gravity levitation or stargates for interdimensional travel between planets. Such notions remain speculative at best, but underscore the aura of arcane mystery permeating these ancient sites. Conclusion. The stone jars have fired imaginations across Laos for centuries, birthing rich stores of myths. The legends highlight how these artifacts have captured public interest and come to hold deep cultural meaning for peoples across Xieng Khouang. While details differ, recurring themes run through many stories: ties to giants, celestial origins, subterranean worlds, lost civilizations, cataclysm myths explaining the fall of precursor cultures. The myths afford glimpses into how Laotian cultures have interpreted the archaeological remains over generations. Most probably contain some culture heroes like the Moi giants, or were spun by early visitors struggling to explain the mammoth jars and impressive ancient ruins. While the legends can't tell us definitively who carved the jars 2,000 plus years ago, they do tell us the artifacts left deep impressions on local memory. Their aura of mystery and intrigue persists through fantastic myths, speaking to their lasting hold on regional imaginations. The stories reflect the intimate links these cultures feel to their history and landscapes. And the monkey stone, the fortress, axe quarry, and other sites may still conceal surprises about their ancient makers. As archaeologists decipher more clues, perhaps grains of truth will emerge even from these fabulous legends. At minimum, the tales highlight the jars as living relics still echoing across the physical and cultural landscape of northern Laos.